This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Talks for a new national contract for U.S. refinery and chemical plant workers intensified on Monday between the United Steelworkers Union, USW, and oil companies, the union told members in a message seen by Reuters. Talks for the new pact began on January 13 between the USW and lead company negotiator Marathon Petroleum, the union has said, ahead of the February 1 expiry of an existing three-year agreement covering 30,000 workers across the United States. In addition to the contract talks, which will set pay and benefits, USW locals are meeting refinery and plant managers to agree on local issues.
The chiefs of major U.S. oil companies Occidental Petroleum Corp. And ConocoPhillips offered differing outlooks on the growth of U.S. oil output at a conference on Monday, as the industry rebounds from shutdowns during the first stage of the coronavirus pandemic. Oil prices have surged to 7-year highs in the last several weeks, with international benchmark Brent crude hitting nearly $90 per barrel, bolstered by tight worldwide supply and resurgent global demand. ConocoPhillips Chief Executive Officer Ryan Lance told an audience at the Argus Americas Crude Summit in Houston that he was bullish about markets as high oil prices will persist for a while.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Indonesia has conducted early tests to produce gasoline made from palm oil, its energy ministry said on Tuesday, as it seeks to expand use of the vegetable oil in its energy sector. To absorb more of its palm oil output and slash fuel imports, the world's biggest producer of the oil in 2020 launched a mandatory B30 biodiesel, which is 30% palm oil, one of the highest palm oil concentrations used in a biofuel globally. Indonesia aims to increase the palm oil content in the biodiesel and use it to produce other fuels. It conducted a test flight using jet fuel mixed with palm oil last year and plans to do road tests for biodiesel containing 40% palm fuel next month.
Oil prices were broadly stable on Tuesday as bullish signals from a tight supply picture were countered by falling Wall Street equities and a possible U.S. rate hike, which could weigh on risk assets such as oil. Brent crude futures were up 23 cents, or 0.3%, at $86.50 a barrel at 12:49 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude futures were 3 cents lower at $83.28 a barrel. World equities, which often move in tandem with oil, are set for their biggest monthly drop since the COVID-19 pandemic hit markets in March 2020. U.S. oil futures erased earlier gains as Wall Street opened, with equities falling.
Next, we have the top news in metal.
The global zinc market deficit edged lower to 19,700 tons in November from a revised shortfall of 22,100 tons a month earlier, data from the International Lead and Zinc Study Group, ILZSG, showed on Tuesday. Previously, the ILZSG had reported a deficit of 6,100 tons in October. During the first 11 months of 2021, ILZSG data showed a deficit of 126,000 tons versus a surplus of 479,000 tons in the same period of 2020. Around 13.5 million tons of zinc is produced and consumed each year.
The Church of England Pensions Board said on Tuesday it planned to vote against the re-election of company chairs of 183 mining companies unless they sign up to a new global standard on managing mine waste. Created by a 100-strong group of investors representing $20 trillion in assets in partnership with industry, the standard was initiated after 270 people were killed in the Brumadinho mining disaster in 2019, when a dam holding back waste known as tailings collapsed. Since then, a further 12 accidents have occurred in countries from Angola to India and Turkey, 3 of which involved fatalities and all damaged the environment, the group said. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. China has published trial rules for the approval of gene-edited plants, paving the way for faster improvements to crops as it seeks to bolster its food security. Gene editing, or altering the genes of a plant to change or improve its performance, is viewed by some scientists as less risky than genetically modifying them, which involves transferring a foreign gene. The new guidelines, published by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs late Monday, come amid a raft of measures aimed at overhauling China's seed industry, seen as a weak link in efforts to ensure it can feed the world's biggest population.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.